Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to Junk to Jules podcast with Georgette Beck. I'm so glad you're listening and or watching because we are on YouTube and all of the audio platforms. I have a special guest today. A lot of times our guests have really happy, sad, all of the things, stories. And my guest here is Nichole Haugen, and I am so pleased to meet her. I love how we get to connect with people from all over the world. So welcome, Nichole. I want to share a little bit about her before I have her jump in with me. And I love it. She's a wife and a mom. I got to tell you, it's such a blessing to be a mom. And she has 6 beautiful daughters. She's a nurse and she's a grief coach. She spent over 10 years as a hospice nurse, helping families through hard times. And I can attest to that, of how special hospice is. And we'll dive into that even more. But she knows a lot about grief, and both from her job and her own life, that experience comes from. And sadly, in 2019, Nichole lost her dad. He passed away after fighting cancer for quite a while, a long fight with cancer. And just 4 months later, Nichole lost her mom as well through a very sudden accident in a winter storm. On top of that, she discovered her husband had been hiding financial problems for over 10 years. A lot has hit suddenly. Oh my gosh. So through all of that, Nichole found a path to healing and forgiveness and learning to live with grief. Now, as a grief coach, she supports others on their own grief journeys and helping them to feel understood and reminding them that they don't have to face it alone. So welcome, Nichole Haugen. How are you, Nichole?
Good. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I am so glad and pleased to have you. I love it. Yeah, we were just chatting off camera. I know there's a lot of folks that are listening and or watching that are going to be really needing to hear this message, because grief happens when we have a loss, either through a loved one or maybe through a divorce like I had gone through, or just relationship stuff. Heart stuff is so hard and heavy to carry sometimes. So I was sharing with Nichole that I'm so looking forward to what she has to share with us today, because I lost my mom in 2017, June of 2017. And 7 years later, just this past January, we lost my dad. So our family has been in a season of grief and some transition. But it seems like your story too, a lot of things happen all at once. Like the grief hits you and it's powerful and huge. And you're like, oh my gosh, how do I do this? And then other life things happen. My husband retired after 30 years being a law enforcement officer. My job situation changed. Our church family of 20 years changed. That's my situation. But it's like, holy moly. So let's just jump in, Nichole. Share about yourself. Like where did you come from originally? Tell me about your family. Where are you from? And start from there.
Yeah, so I am from North Dakota. I grew up on a ranch and lived there my whole life. And then I moved just a little ways down the road, like 40 miles. And so that's where we live now. I went to nursing school in North Dakota, so I've never really left the state, and got married fairly young. I was 22, had the first baby by 23. Just kind of started having life happen with 6 children, back to back to back. So life got busy, and I love being a nurse. I don't do it full time anymore, but I do love being a nurse. I especially love hospice nurse. I realize that it is a unique calling, and not everyone can do it.
Why do you think you especially feel called for hospice? Because it is a very difficult calling.
Yeah, it is. And I feel like for me, I've never been afraid to talk about death. It's not something I'm uncomfortable with. A lot of people, like when they see other people in pain with grief and like somebody dying, they want to like fix it. They say the cliche things, or they don't say anything at all. They try to like,
"You shall pass." I've heard.
Yes.
Pass. I'll be. Yeah.
So, and I'm just one to like, I don't mind sitting in silence. I don't mind being there. I like helping people. I like talking with them through those final dying stages when it does follow the dying progression, the disease process like that. I like educating the family members so they know what to look for and they're prepared. I feel like that's the biggest thing that we can help the loved one goes through is to not have everything be unexpected. There are a lot of things that are unexpected, but to help them in that unexpected transition time.
Yeah. Yeah. I've had well, I mean, I think death is all around us at times. I remember we went to visit someone in hospice, and it's hard to walk in. I just went to our hospice. We have a local hospice here, and I'm a member of Go Get a Girl Network, and we actually went to decorate a Christmas tree, which is happy. But I walked in and it was like a trigger because I'm still grieving from my dad. But I like what you said, that you are comfortable just sitting, comfortable sitting with someone as they're going through this, because honestly, there are no words.
Yeah. 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 And I think sometimes silence is the best healer and is the best balm kind of in that open wound.
Yeah. The companionship, and you understand. Your heart is sitting there with you're an open heart, and you're sitting there with complete understanding. I like that. Now, you did long-term care.
Yep. So I did a little bit of nursing, like a long-term care. And then with my hospice patients, some were in the nursing home, some were at home, some were in the hospital setting. So a variety of different places.
Mm-hmm. Now, you talk about your Catholic faith. You say that you're Catholic from the cradle. I started off Catholic, and then we went into a faith-based Christian, Bible-based churches, and all Protestant. And so I love that you just had a retreat, right? You do a lot of things. We're going to talk your website, coaching.com. You talk about you share about yourself and about your mission, and you have retreats. How did your retreat go? You just had one, right?
Yep. I had one. It was it was a small gathering. It was very nice. It was nice and intimate. A lot of the focus was it was for healthcare workers. And so a lot of the focus was on self-care and doing little things for ourselves, because a lot of times we think self-care has to be this big production and expensive. So just talking about just little ways that we can help ourselves.
That's powerful. So I want to back up to your journey. So you lost dad, and I'm very sorry for that loss. And I know you're probably still in process, because grief is ongoing. Like, it's always with us now. We carry the remembrances and our love for our parents, and there's different moments that come up. And then, you lost your mom, not even 4 months. Talk about those emotions. Talk about where you were at that time. Like, what did you do?
Yeah. So with my dad, it was more of the expected grief. Like, he was transitioning. We knew the treatments weren't working. He came on hospice services. He had that for a few months. And I still felt very sad, but it was a different kind of grief, a relief also, because he was in a lot of pain towards the end. Originally it was prostate cancer, but it metastasized to his bones by the time they found it. So he lived with that bone cancer for 10 years. And so towards the end, I mean, he couldn't walk. He was in excruciating pain. And so it was more of a relief to know he wasn't suffering anymore. But of course, we were still sad. We missed him. It was hard to not be able to call him up, ask questions about things. And then with my mom, it was so tragic, so unexpected, that it was just, for a long time, I was just numb. You were just trying to get through the day. And Absolutely. At that time, my oldest was 9. And so trying to just get through the day to day with children and working and all the things it was just enough just to get through the day.
Yeah. Now, was there people to support you during this journey?
There were. I'm close to quite a few of my cousins. One of my cousins, he died when he was 15. He just dropped dead on the track field. It was at track practice. His heart stopped. And so those cousins especially, they knew what that looked like. They did. I was able to talk to them and lean on them.
Blessing.
In that time. Yeah. So that was very helpful.
That's a blessing. So when did it start to come to you that, like, you wanted to hone in on this mission and create nurse grief coaching?
Yeah. So it's been more recently. I knew I wanted to help people. And at first I wanted to help nurses, because I'm like, well, we're so stressed. We're so busy. I want to help nurses.
Hold on. I have to interrupt. I forgot. Speaking of that, and why and how it's so important you're doing self-care with nurses. So you lost dad, 4 months later, mom, and then you found out some things on the marital front, the hubby situation that you're having to like figure out like, wow. Then this is all after around COVID when the
Yep.
whole world is going through a grief situation. I almost died from COVID myself. Like, no joke. And that's when my job situation started changing too. I had a breakdown. I was overwhelmed with the work and things were changing. I lost my partner. It was too busy and I was affected by COVID. So that's no little thing. And you're already knocked down, let's say. You're already like, call it the love bank. Your love bank's probably on the red zone there of what you can handle, your emotions.
Yeah.
Well, what did you do, girl? I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yeah, my love tank for sure was on empty. Yeah, and it was a lot of that grief that I felt in my marriage was then tied with the grief that I felt, especially with my mom. So if something would trigger that grief, then I would like get angry all over again at my husband. Or if something triggered with my husband, I'd be like super sad and depressed about my parents. And so it was just really combined. And then, then COVID. And so I basically just survived 2020. I didn't know at that point that I was struggling. I think I knew everybody was struggling. So it was more like, okay, well, like we're just all getting through this. And it came more out for me in anger. I was very angry at things, just changes, right? All the changes that were happening throughout the world. So I was just very angry. And then I would be upset with my husband and just different things. And so it wasn't until about 2021 that then I found life coaching. It was initially because I was like, something's got to give. I can't take anymore. And I was like, I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to pay for this monthly membership because my husband spent thousands on whatever he wants to enjoy. So I'm going to do this for myself. So it was kind of out of anger.
Taking it back. You're owning it for yourself and working through it. I'm proud. That's awesome.
Yeah. So
and you found life coaching.
Thing. Yeah. So I found life coaching. And through that, then I was like, once I didn't cope with food anymore, I realized like all of the emotions and the issues that I was having. And I was like, oh yeah, like I want to help other people.
I'm an emotional eater. So I get the coping with the food. And when all that stress was happening, I was gaining more and more weight. I was getting busier, COVID, I was gaining the weight. And then, I can relate. I'm on that health journey now. I just lost this past, almost over a year now. I've lost almost 70. I've been at a standstill. So God bless you on your health journey too.
Thank you.
And you know what? I just want to acknowledge that when you step out into a new territory, you went to go get healthy and you found yourself and you found a whole new path for yourself, your new passion.
Yeah.
You want to say something about that?
Yeah, I think that's just it, right? Like when we kind of calm all the other noise, we can hear what God is calling us to even more so. Like I knew I've always wanted to help people. I've always like been a nurse but really it was like, oh, like now I understand why I went through some of these things.
The pain with the purpose. And that's a cliche, but honestly, I can attest with my books are coming out and it talks about that. Pain does have a purpose and none of us would sign up for it. We would not sign up for our particular pains, but our hearts are unique to our own pains that happen. And then, only this heart, like your heart can, and now with my similar loss of my parents, you and I could totally hug on somebody and a good, like love on somebody. We don't have to say words when we go to minister to them or encourage them or pray for them because sometimes you can give encouragement and help without words. And because our hearts so are attuned to their grief, we know exactly what's going on inside them. That is a gift because not everyone is out there who can help you in the way you need it when you need it, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So talk more about you get to talk about, you do retreats. I was looking at your website. You do emotional resilience coaching. Like talk about some of the services and things you love helping people with. How do you teach self-care? And I love that the nurses, because they work a lot of hours and some hospitals are really nice and some really work their nurses and the staff and they're exhausted. My daughter was a patient care tech. My son-in-law was a EMT in the emergency room, and he turned paramedic EMT, and then he was nursing, and he traveled for a bit. And they have such a heart to help, but the system, yeah. So self-care. So what are some of the topics you think, like what's impactful that you've found help them?
Yeah. And when I felt like most of the people that come to me, and again, you don't have to be a nurse, but it's oftentimes the people that are the strong one in their family. They're the ones who are also taking care of their siblings, or like they had one parent pass away. Now they're taking care of the other parent. They are like the caregiver at heart. And so what I find is that, yeah, we don't take time for ourselves because we feel so guilty. And then we feel angry that maybe our spouse or other people close to us don't know what we need, that they're not stepping in and taking care of us. I feel that especially be true. Like with my husband, he has never really lost anybody close to him. And so he didn't understand. He just legitimately, we don't know what we don't know. And so trying to communicate to him, I had to first understand what I needed and what would help me, and then communicate that to him. And so that's a big part of what I help people with, is really truly saying like, what do you need?
That's powerful.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's powerful because most people are not everyone self-reflects and they don't know. They're used to just going and not even thinking. Yeah. So that's really powerful. Yeah. So what other services do you provide? I know. What other things do you like to help people with?
Yeah, so I like to help people with just like finding the first and basic foundations of self-care is like, when's the last time you've actually gotten water in a day? Like, when's the last time you just like got to go for a little walk? Just those very simple things. And like, for me, I love coffee in the morning. So I set up my coffee pot the night before. I know if I want to exercise the next day, I'm going to set out my exercise clothes because it gets me just moving and doing things. So it's just really focusing on it sounds so simple, but it really, truly, when you're so busy caring for everybody else, you just stop caring. You don't even know what you like anymore. You don't know. We're different now. I'm different now than I was when I was 16, 18. And then when you pause and you're like, somebody's like, well, where do you want to go eat? I don't know. I don't know.
Hard thing. Oh,
right.
Yeah. So and then of course you help people go through grief, like you help them process and you sit with them. Like, do you do coaching with that? So is there a certain amount of weeks you work together, or you just start off and it's a day by day, like a week by week, you touch it and see how it's going, that kind of thing? Like, how do you work with your clients and people that come?
So I have them book a free consult call with me. And so then I can really set up their specific plan and what we're going to work on and what their goals are. And then when they hire me, then it is 12 weeks. And so I like to meet once a week, and obviously with schedules and things, or try every other week. And then because there are things that trigger us that we don't expect, or all of a sudden we're like, well, I thought I worked through this. Why is it coming up again? And so it's really walking through that with somebody. And so that's what we do.
Yeah. So that's really powerful, gentle and a strong way at the same time. So I remember we learned that when you have a loss, if you don't process the loss, if you don't take time to grieve it and go through all of the emotions, because grief does come with its emotions and we're all different. Like you shared that you had anger, and that was one of your probably survival mechanisms too, and a safety mechanism, but it was still an emotion that needed to be processed. And I know I had depression, but just a sadness and a sorrow. And then it would come and go. But then if you don't take time, it goes under the surface. You may seem like you're fine, but then when another loss, no matter what it is, your pet could pass away. Yeah. You could lose your job, or a friendship ends. And then all of a sudden, now that compounds the grief, that compounds the other loss. They layer up on each other. So that's why it's so important. And I'm sure you'll agree, when you have a loss, take time to love on yourself. Go get some help. Go get a life coach. Like work with Nichole, right? And let it just process it so your insides stay clean and fresh. Even forgiveness, like we have to forgive the person for dying or something like that, or forgive us, or maybe we thought we wanted to say one more thing. And there's all kinds of emotions that come up and they need time. And it's not an easy peasy, like it's not clear cut. Grief has its own up and down, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what I mean. I've learned through my own walk, and everyone's got something different. I was just talking with someone today, actually, and we both kind of chuckled that I call it, I had a little extra finances from the loss of my dad, like his estate. And I went a little cray and I spent a good chunk on a passion of ours, art. So I felt a little bad for a little bit. And then my husband's like, Georgette, we did what we did. We had a great time doing it. And now we're moving forward. It was part of my grieving. I'm just putting it to bed. It's part of that. So every person's got to do something different. And to give yourself a break if it seems like it was outlandish. But the self-care, and like you said, it doesn't have to be expensive. I went a little on the expensive side because it was there. But mostly I love going to the beach, going out like you walking. But I do too. My husband and I like to go for a walk because it helps our emotions. And I don't know if have you experienced this, but I found right after my dad passed, we started just doing house projects like crazy. We redid our porch. We spring cleaned rooms. Yeah. Do you find like projects, making things, keeping moving, doing things with your hands?
Yeah. Yeah. Distractions, busy work. And like you said, I mean, I think too, like it can be good. It can be something that you're like distracting yourself with because you don't want to feel those feelings, which is also okay. And I always tell people like, it's okay. Like have compassion for wherever you're at because it's not easy. Grief is hard. And then too, like the world tells you these cliched things or, well, it's been 6 months or it's been a year. Like, why aren't you? And like, it's coming up on my mom for 5 years and it's hard. Like it's still hard. So I think just to like, have compassion. And I love where your husband's like, no, it's okay. Like we decided that.
So kind.
Yeah.
I really was feeling down on myself because I'm like, I could have done so much more with that money because we have a nonprofit that helps single moms, dads, and kids. And I'm like, we could have so done so much more. And with creative projects, you could so create more. But you know what? It needed to happen. So yeah, it's so needed to happen. And I was going to ask you another question and now I'm drawing a blank, but that happens to my brain sometimes. Oh my gosh. But, life continues. Like there's things that happen that our hearts carry grief on and not everyone's aware of it. And it does. Like, I wish I can just talk to my mom about something I'm going through right now. Like, and then sometimes you just wish you could have one more conversation. So I do talk to them like in my own way. So people need to find how you can love on your loved ones in your own way. Like they are still with us. We carry them in us. I believe in all our fiber and our heart and spirit. Like all our generations, like we walk forward with them. So and that doesn't help someone in that moment because you really just want to see their face sometimes and hear their voice. But it does help me to think of that. I can still go forward because I know they're with me. And I appreciate, like we can take time to appreciate our loved ones. Like your dad, I bet you have like I do, what we've learned from them and how we're acting in this world that we see parts of them and their traits in us. So did you work out the financial situation with your husband?
Yeah. Yep. So that has been a journey in itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And so it's just, I think I would say now, like we are stronger than ever. Really what it's taught us is like, I can be pretty harsh sometimes controlling, and he likes to avoid conversations. And so
personalities.
It's different personalities. So it's really helped us like mesh our personalities together and learn to communicate through that instead of just like doing our own thing. So I think, I mean, it's been a blessing in disguise because like I didn't know this was going on, and he was like having feelings and like not wanting to talk about things and hiding things, and I had no clue that this is how he felt. And so it's brought us closer together.
I love it. I always say how truth reveals, like God gives us truth. And at a time, the truth hurts a whole bunch.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I also say truth is refreshing.
Yeah.
Truth is freeing. And then, like you said, it was it brought light to situations and it helped you connect and communicate. I know out there marriages are struggling all over. I'm in different groups on social media and I'm hearing I'm feeling the heartbeat. And for me, this is my second chance. And we celebrated 20 years this last May, but it did not come all easy because we had blended and acclamations, but we learned, and communication is the top notch key. And we didn't know how to communicate either in the beginning. We had different love languages. We had different personalities. And I don't know if you've ever heard some of the assessments that people take, the Myers-Briggs or Briggs-Meyer. I can't remember how to say that, but there's so many personality assessments that actually bring truth. Oh, is that why you do it this way? And like birth order, there's a whole book on that. Is it Mark Lehman? I always forget author names, but there's a book talking about the birth order. And oh, no wonder I'm firstborn, but you're like the baby of the family, but you're also firstbornish because you were born later in life and there was a gap between siblings. I don't know if you've ever read those, Nichole. Have you checked out those things?
Some of them, yeah. I'm a middle child, so you know.
You like to have fun. It's, right. That was my husband. He's like the fun one, but he's also a little serious too because he's later in life, but he's the last one. He's the baby. He's the baby. He's not middle, but he likes to have fun, but he also, no. But yeah, so yeah, it's okay. Like everyone's got to, I think if husbands and wife could just take the time, especially before you marry, do the assessments together, get premarital counseling. And for sure, go get refreshers. It's okay to go to counseling. I know Lewis Howes talks about this. He's engaged and I got to meet him once. He's awesome. He has the School of Greatness Academy. It's not going now, but he's got the podcast. And him and his fiance have already been through counseling together because they're getting to know each other and they wanted to include the expert of counsel from others to help them walk the path. And I love that. And I'm so that's a great thing. That's really wise. I call that wisdom to get the information up front. And I love that you worked with the life coach and now you're giving it back because honestly, and I know Ed Milet talks about this, find your person, find someone up on the path ahead of you, find someone that is doing what you want to do or gone through what you went through. So the fact is, yes, we need a life coach, someone who's got the specialty of what we're looking for. Because you know what? Sometimes they ask questions that we never even thought of. Like you said, like you ask the questions.
Yeah.
That is so helpful, right?
Yeah.
I have some questions. Yeah. So what's your favorite thing about help? Like I saw some testimonials on your website. What's your favorite thing about why you do what you do? Like what does it for you? Like that makes you just say, yes, this is why I'm sharing my pain and I'm showing up like this. Tell me some of that.
Yeah, I think for me, like one of the biggest things is like helping them with their pain, like just helping somebody when you see somebody just be like, wow, I never thought of it that way. Or I didn't realize I was doing this. I'm keeping myself in this pain. Like by the way I'm showing up and the thoughts I'm having, like that to me is like the biggest, just like, it just brings such joy when like oh, I helped them. Like, yeah, just helping them through that.
Yeah, that's so rewarding. That's so rewarding because life is more than just us and we need each other and we just need each other. And so the fact that you're out there helping people like that, I applaud you. It's a beautiful thing to offer your heart and hand to someone that's in the grief in a moment and teaching other people how to walk that. Like nurses lose people. They lose their patience and they need someone to talk to because if you don't understand it, like my husband would come home at times and he couldn't talk. He would see someone that passed away and he'd have to talk to the family and give that announcement. And it just breaks your heart. Like, and you just don't know how to process that sometimes. So it's good to have an outlet and to talk to somebody. So before we wrap up, Nichole, I always ask my guests a few questions, if that's okay. So do you have a favorite book?
Oh my goodness. I love to read.
They're all my friends.
I am
Name a
so
few or what you've read recently or something. Like I know me too. My house is full of books.
yeah. Oh my goodness. Nonfiction. I'll read like anything and everything. I've been reading a lot of like murder mysteries lately.
Really? I love it. Like Agatha Christie style.
Oh yeah. Yep. I've read lots of hers. Yeah. Anyways, I don't know. I really like the Fourth Wing series. It's a little out there, but I do like some fantasy every once in a while, like things like that. So yeah, but otherwise, of course, I love reading books about the saints also. I mean, I'm probably one of my favorite is the Diary of Saint Faustina. Just like read little snippets. Yeah, it's very big. I just every once in a while, just pull it out, read little snippets. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. That's a good one. I've not read that one. And I like to find new books all the time. So I actually pick them up from different people I meet or different podcasts I listen to. So I love reading antique books. So a lot of my antique books are the faith fathers and all of those folks that started it off for us. And like Marcus Aurelius, I read like that stuff over and over. Do you have a favorite quote or a favorite affirmation that you like to say?
I think one of my favorite quotes is just, Jesus, I trust in you. And that came from Saint Faustina. It's very simple. It's one I can remember. I'm not good at memorizing things. I can't remember titles and authors. I'll be like, I read a book. It was good. But
I found that one I can remember. Nichole. I feel better. I do too. And I feel bad. I can't say the author's name all the time, but this book was fabulous.
Yeah. No, I'm like, unless it's in front of me, I can't remember. I'll be like,
yeah. Now, if you could sit down with anyone, past or present, to have a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, who would that be and why?
It'd probably be my mom, just because it's been 5 years. So many things have happened. I would love to just like hear her advice on what I'm doing now with the coaching. She was a counselor, so I would just love to hear her words of wisdom. She always told it how it was, and I'm sure she would tell it.
Generational mission. You guys have similar missions in the heart. I love that. What would you say to someone who just lost a loved one?
I think just to have compassion for yourself, because it is hard and you're not crazy. There's so many things that you feel like, am I crazy for thinking this way? Like the emotions just are so up and down. And so just like, you're not crazy. This is as hard as you think it is.
I like that. I wanted to, you know what you brought back to my memory. I'm going to read something from your website. So I'm quoting this from your website. Nichole writes, grief is a heavy thing. You are exhausted, but can't stop thinking about it. You try talking to others and they say things that are unhelpful and downright annoying. You are not crazy. Of course, death affects you. It is natural to feel these things. I help you know what to say and do when people say annoying things. I help you be less angry and for you to stop feeling alone. That really struck me. There's days like I would wake up and sit at the table and my husband would leave and do my devotions and I would just be weeping.
Yeah.
And because you know what, life is going on around you and people have moved on. Like, yeah, oh, you lost your dad and mom, like 7 years. It doesn't matter. Like my husband lost his parents, his dad very young, and then his mom she had a real rough way with a stroke and he was caring for her for a while. So it was slow going and watching her be uncomfortable and in pain and not a very high level of life. And he says, Georgette, it never changes. That these feelings you're feeling, and he's had a lot of years under his belt to move through it. And I was like, you're not helping me right now. I don't want to hear that. Like, you're not helping me because I'm thinking this is going to get better. And he's like, no, you love them. Yeah. And they're not here physically. Yeah. Like they're not here. And you feel that. But I feel like even my sisters and I and our family, we are managing better. And it's actually brought us closer because we made a decision that we're going to choose how we do life together. We're going to choose to create new memories because you had family gatherings and you had certain traditions and we decided to create new ones with us. So this Christmas is the first that we don't have my father. So we're all going to Georgia. We're going to do Christmas in Georgia.
Nice.
So you got to find what you and your family want to do together. And I think as sad it is to lose someone, you can create something new from it.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think that there is beauty in it in that way, where like the traditions are going to look different, but they can look different in a good way too.
Yeah. And just sharing memories. Like we call each other more, which I'm very thankful for. Like we're picking up the phone to have like, hey, I just thought of this, or I'm thinking of you, or hey, remember when Daddy said this?
Mm-hmm.
So just keep doing that. Like it's okay. And sometimes, like we would say, I'm having a really hard day today, and they would understand.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, I get it. And that's okay too. So Nichole, it was a pleasure. And I just want to encourage everyone to go check out Nichole's website, nursegriefingcoaching.com, and follow her on all the social media platforms. She's on Facebook and Instagram, TikTok, and she has a podcast too. You have a podcast.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I'm available. So I plug for myself. But yeah, she has a podcast. But go check out her website because you'll have the links right there in the website. I do want to give a plug so I have a book coming out, everyone, this year. It's published and it releases January 21 on Amazon. Not sure when you'll listen to this podcast, but Junk to Jewels, A Journey from Brokenness and Despair to Beauty and Delight. And it talks about grief, my journey. And yeah, as the book had come out, we just lost my dad. So my mom or dad did not get to see the book. They knew it was happening because it's been a long years of writing it and working on it. But check it out. And yeah, GeorgetteBeck.com, learn more about what we're doing here with Junk to Jewels. And yeah, it's a journey and it repeats and it does get better. Right, Nichole?
Yeah, it does.
It does get better. So hold on, don't give up. Do you have any other last words you wish to share?
I think just also to remind people that I like to always tell people that no is a complete sentence. And so you don't have to, oftentimes especially with grief, you feel like guilt and shame around it. And it's okay to just say no with things. Yeah.
I love that. And just the fact that that's because sometimes your calendar has to change for a brief temporary time. And I love that I'm not going to be able to come tonight. Thank you. I love that you thinking that you can. I love that you thought of me to invite me to your special, beautiful event, but I'm not able to make it. Thank you. I love that. That's a good parting word. Well, thank you guys for listening. Guys and ladies out there, thank you for listening and watching Junk to Jewels podcast with Georgette Beck. Check out Nichole's website, please, nursegriefcoaching.com. And thank you, Nichole, for being a guest. Be blessed, everyone.